Hello everyone. For the 4th week of my personal deck challenge, I worked with the Isis Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. I believe the artwork's by Jimmy Manton. And I work with Isis very closely, and as I talked about in my deck review for this deck, I really have a great deep affection and affinity and love for this deck. Let me just show you some of the images. The guidebook that accompanies this deck is really, really powerful, and I highly recommend reading it and using it along with the cards. I do occasionally do spreads with this deck, but typically here's one, so beautiful. Typically I just do a single card draw and ask for information. And I always get a very clear answer, and I'm just looking for the card. Some of the cards that really stood out for me this week, and there it is. Okay. So the week that I worked with this deck was actually a really wonderful week because I was teaching my first official Reiki Level 1 training, and so I used this deck all week, and I also used this deck with the ladies that decided to take the training, and I think we all received some really powerful medicine and answers and insight into Reiki and why we were taking the training and all of that kind of thing. So let me just, there's one more, this one. This was the card that I drew for the Reiki training, Divine Sisterhood, and it was also on the Facebook page as well. And it proved to be very accurate and, sorry about that, and discerning and helpful through the Reiki training for me as the attuner and the teacher. It really helped me to step into that role and realize that it wasn't all about me. It was about, in fact, it wasn't about me at all or my teaching skills. It was actually about just opening up and being a conduit for spirit in the same way that we open up to Reiki, and we're just a conduit. We're not giving Reiki to someone. We're just allowing the Reiki to come through us and opening for the Reiki to come through us. And then the person receives Reiki from spirit. So that was a really good reminder for me. I also drew Lady of the Stars for myself, Priestess of Sirius, and this was really helpful in helping me in the brief times I get to meditate before the training, to realize my own lineage and what was unique and important to me spiritually that I could bring to the training and also to my life and to remember about my life, and so that was really helpful. So Lady of the Stars was really, really important. Stay true and be in your own power showed up, which was a really good reminder for me. Ancient Power Mysteries also showed up, about birth and creation. The Dark Mysteries showed up. I love that image. And Abundance of Sothis. And I get this card constantly in this deck. So there's definitely a real meaning for me about allowing abundance to happen in my life and trusting that it can. And so I really appreciated getting this message multiple times the past week that I worked with this. So this week spent working with this deck was very, very helpful and beneficial for me. It was definitely a deck that helped me to prepare to step into more of a teaching role, especially working with Reiki, and so that was really beautiful and very helpful and harmonious. It created a harmonious transition for me and helped me to get out of my head and into my heart space and realize that it wasn't about me at all, and so that was really helpful. I really cannot recommend this deck highly enough. It's probably, after the Terror of the Vampires, my next favorite deck. I really, really love this deck, and I use it occasionally. Like I said, I used it with my Reiki trainees, and I do use this deck for daily draws on my Facebook page, but this deck is really something that's just for me and that I work with very closely in my spiritual practice, and especially with the limited amount of time I have in my life now to devote to that, comparative to past 10 years of my life where I've spent a great deal of time on daily spiritual work and study and meditation. This deck really helps me to get connected and grounded and focused right away so that I can make the most of the shortened amount of time I have in my life. And realize that this is just the next step in my journey and I'm not losing anything spiritually. I'm still able to be just as spiritual of a person and just as focused of a person. So this deck has been a joy and a privilege to work with, and I continue to work with it daily. The deck that I used for the last week of my personal deck challenge, which lasted a month, so I did 5 weeks, so a little bit over a month, is the Angelic Guidance Oracle cards. And, Angelic Messenger cards. And so I will be posting a review about that in a few moments to go along with that. That's the back of that deck. And that's been a really great deck to work with too. But definitely really feeling very, very close to and aligned with my Isis Oraclr deck and the Tarot of the Vampires as usual. But it's nice to get to know other decks very well too. So share your experiences working with a personal deck challenge if you've chosen to take one. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.